My wife got me another woman for my birthday, or so I thought. I'm a professional house cleaner in a large city. My first house today was beautiful and pretty big, more than 4,000 square feet, and I'd never cleaned this house before today. I'm kind of interested to clean the homes of other people you never actually meet while they're not home. I never snoop, but I do learn about people just by the state of their house or whatever's out. These people seemed like they really needed us. I'd guess they were busy and don't have much time for cleaning and organizing, but definitely have an active bedroom life judging by the master bedroom. I love cleaning dirty houses and was like amping myself up doing a mini Rocky training montage warm-up and finding the perfect music to work to, Pantera. I was sweating like 4 hours in, but I was getting this house like sparkling, and all I had left to do were the floors when a man walked in. I welcomed him home and let him know that I just needed to clean the floors and I'd be finished soon. He looked super confused and then kind of grinned and asked if I was his birthday gift. I didn't really know what he meant. Maybe his wife scheduled the service on his birthday. I just answered with, maybe? Happy birthday, Mr. Henricks. To which he looked even more confused and told me his name was not Henricks. Well, that's because his next-door neighbor, my actual client, is Mr. Henricks. I walked my happy butt into the wrong frickin' house and cleaned the heck out of it. And then the guy who lived there came home and thought that I was a lady of the night role-playing as a house cleaner hired by his wife as a birthday present. I was so totally embarrassed explaining myself to this guy and my boss. The entry instructions on the app said the client wouldn't be home but that there was a key under the mat. There was no key under the mat but the front door was unlocked. This wasn't even the first time in my life that I've let myself into the wrong house, although the first time was not a work thing. On the plus side, the guy was so happy with how clean his house was that I finished the floors and he paid me what the company would have charged him plus a tip. I think I really lucked out. That guy would have been well within his rights not to pay. It would have been reasonable for him to be angry. Instead, he was really nice about it. Maybe also a little embarrassed that he asked if I was a bang maid. In short, I disappointed a man who really wanted to get laid by a maid. Oh my god, I was expecting the angle of the client expecting a different kind of service, but I was not expecting you to have flat out just gone to the wrong house. That's incredible. I was feeling a little upset on your behalf that you wasted an entire day cleaning, but then this admittedly kinda skeevy guy was pretty cool about paying you the appropriate rate for your work, not the service he initially thought you were providing. I'm very happy that he didn't push his first line of questioning any further. Apparently, you look good enough after 4 hours of hard manual labor that well-to-do clients are not disappointed when they think that you're a bank maid, as you put it, which you can take as a compliment if you like, but I understand if you don't feel inclined to interpret events in that way. Congratulations on the new client? Hopefully the original ones understood. You want to escalate to Tier 3 support? Okay, there's a process for that. Let's do it. I worked in customer support for a tech firm, and if I may say so, the company is good at it, and I'm good at it. We have customer satisfaction stories and data to prove it. Our customer support is what gives us a competitive edge in our marketplace and makes us very profitable. One day I get a phone call from a customer. I say, hello, and he interrupts me with, I want to talk to third-tier support. I say, okay, we have a process for that. What seems to be the problem? No, you don't understand. I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to third-tier support. Actually, I do understand. You want to talk to third-tier support. I'm setting that up. But there are a few questions I have to ask you, and if I don't know the answers to those questions, then they aren't going to call you. They're going to ask me to call you back and get those answers. So, what seems to be the problem? He explains the problem to me. I say, have you tried this? And I give him a solution. No, you don't understand. I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to third-tier support. You know, the guys who aren't working from a script. I assure you, sir, I'm not working from a script. Have you tried that method? Yes, I did. Now may I talk to third-tier support? Okay. Have you tried? And I give him another method. Yes, I did. Now may I talk to third-tier support? My problem isn't on your script. There's no script for this problem, sir. I'm asking you this question because I thoroughly understand our device, and I know from previous experience that that might solve your problem. Now, let me ask, have you tried this other solution? What makes you think that this one's going to solve my problem? Well, I've been doing this work for a couple of years now and I have a pretty good idea of how these things work. So I thought this other solution might solve the problem. Listen, I have a master's degree in computer science. I want to talk to someone in third-tier support. Now, let me say, I don't want to disrespect computer scientists because computer science is a hard field to get into. But everyone should understand that there's a big difference between computer scientists, computer programmers, system administrators, database administrators, network administrators, cybersecurity analysts, program managers, and customer support people. Computer scientists do research on artificial intelligence, algorithms, compiler design, large databases, and other theoretical topics. Those are important topics. Computer programmers, by way of contrast, write computer programs. They need to know about computer science topics, but computer science is a means, not an end to them. The same is true of all the other specialties I mentioned. He may be a really good computer scientist, but that doesn't mean he's a network administrator or a system administrator. Those are different specialties. Someone who says, "I have a master's degree in computer science, I don't need to talk to you," knows a great deal about what he knows, but doesn't know what he doesn't know. I've been around long enough to know that there's a great deal I don't know. So I say, just try this other thing. If that doesn't work, then I'll give you third-tier support. You promise? I promise. I can hear him typing away in the background, swearing and cursing. I can hear when he hits the return key because he hits it hard. Then he picks up the phone and says, "It's working now." Great. You still want me to escalate to third-tier support? And then I get a torrential outpouring of expletives. Since this is a family channel, I won't give the details, but rather leave it to your imagination, gentle listeners. Then he hung up on me. Wouldn't you know it, he got a customer satisfaction survey and I got straight zeros. I got called into my boss's office and we had a conversation about the call. He was upset and I can't say I blame him because he also gets graded on our survey scores. He called in some third-tier support people to listen to the recording, for training and quality assurance purposes, etc., and they said I did everything right. I apparently did not deserve that rating. They also said that there was no way I deserved the tongue-lashing I got from him and the survey should be tossed out. Unfortunately, the rules are the rules and the score counted. So, I lost my quarterly bonus, which was a couple of $1,000. However, the big boss felt awful about the whole affair, so he and his wife took my wife and me out to dinner at the most expensive restaurant in town. We had a lovely time. At the end of the evening, I noticed that he had paid for the meal with his personal, not his corporate, credit card. I asked him about that, and his response was golden. I'm in a position where I could probably get away with it, but that wouldn't be right. What happened to you wasn't right either. This dinner is my way of making it up to you as best as I can, and I figured if I'm going to do that, I may as well take my wife and your wife along. Why not? He knew I was married because I have the ring. I love that guy, worked for him for years. I mean, I would have liked the couple of $1,000, but the acknowledgement that I'd been screwed was a good second place. Man, you seem to go out of your way to appreciate your workplace, but it really sounds like they completely screwed you here. An unfair review that they admit should be nullified costs you multiple thousands of dollars because… reasons? And look, nice that your boss was so generous to you with his own money, but a better way to retain good employees like the author would be to not let them get completely wrecked by butthurt idiots who fly off the handlebar when someone helps them solve the problem they called in about in the first place. The jerk here is unquestionably the customer, though. I get that we all hate being on these helplines. I get that you think you're hot stuff. But the Tier 1 techie was literally just doing his job, and you did nothing but waste his and your time by imagining that you were beyond talking to someone of his station. Then the fact that the customer swore at him for fixing his computer? What a massive C-word. Even if I'm more disgruntled by your company's system for rewarding and punishing employees. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, linked below. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Cameras have to be on no matter what. Okay, fine by me, don't mind the pump. I'm a project manager and data scientist. I manage lots of different public health-related projects. There's this one project in particular that includes a really demanding team from a federal government department. I recently returned back to work from maternity leave. I work in my office 3 days a week. On those days, I have to pump milk at regular intervals for my baby. Luckily, I have my own private office and can usually just keep working. emails, reports, among other things, while I pump. I have a hands-free, wearable pump which is convenient, but still definitely obvious if I'm wearing it. It pokes out of my shirt and isn't exactly silent. Recently, we had a Zoom call scheduled during one of the times I needed to pump. Instead of missing the meeting, I figured I'd just keep my camera off so I could wear my pump and still participate and listen. Heck, I was even in my office and not working from home. I felt like I was being a pretty committed employee. Meeting starts and a few people have their cameras off. The lead makes the announcement, "I just want to remind everyone that our expectation is that you'll have your cameras on because this is not a virtual meeting, it's a stimulated in-person meeting," whatever that means. I sent a quick private message to explain that I was paying attention but pumping. I got no response, Justin said, "Again, the expectation is that all cameras will be on." So, fine. I turned my camera on for this meeting of about 20 people. The camera isn't aimed at my chest, but certainly the top of my pump is clearly visible. I unmuted myself, so you could also clearly hear the pump and just said, "Thank you for your patience, I was adjusting my pump." The meeting continued awkwardly, with several other team managers letting me know privately it was fine to turn my camera off, but by then there was really no point in doing that. At the most recent meeting, the announcement was, "Please turn on your cameras if you're comfortable doing so." Yes, this is an excellent way to overturn a policy like this. I can actually go out on a limb and say that I do support the general workplace rule of having your cameras on for these meetings and making sure that your various employees don't just have the old Xbox controller in hand, even if I think it's all good to have them turned off for other sorts of meetings. But I definitely think that people should be flexible about employees writing in for exceptions like the ones given by the author. So I think that the management in question was a bit stiff and stupid, and apparently unable to monitor and reply to their requests, but this doesn't seem like evil jerkery to me. Oh, and "this is not a virtual meeting, it's a stimulated in-person meeting" is one of the stupidest things I've read on the channel in a long history of reading stupid things on the channel. Congrats! Am I the jerk for selling my late husband's home out from under his parents? Last year, my husband died in a car accident. We had been separated for about a year prior, but not officially divorced, so I was named the administrator of his estate. I have my own home and I'm financially independent. We had 2 children together. In the late summer of last year, I learned that his parents were the beneficiaries and received a boatload of money. Since his death, his parents have told me that they wanted to buy the home. I've been waiting for them to go through with the purchase since August. I've been paying the mortgage on this home ever since. In February, I warned them that I was sick of paying for 2 mortgages and that I needed them to go through with the purchase. They've dragged their feet ever since and told me that it was in their lawyer's hands and they had no control. My lawyer hasn't received any kind of formal offer from them other than their lawyer stating that they were interested. Last week, I was approached by a gentleman willing to pay good money for the home. I warned them, hoping it would make them move forward on their end, but they scoffed and told me that I just needed to be patient and wait. They aired their grievances on Facebook, where everyone seemed to agree that I was actually the jerk. It's been an entire year of waiting, of them letting me pay the mortgage on his home and supporting our children while they go on vacations, make large purchases, and pay off their debt with the life insurance. We live in a small town with small minds. Not a lot of people know that they got the life insurance and not my children. They failed to mention that part. Am I the jerk for accepting an offer from someone that isn't them? Is selling the home of their dead son wrong? No, I'll admit that when I read the title I kind of thought that this was one of the stories that would be a little murkier, or where I might even end up siding against the author, but nope. You're getting royally messed around and losing tons of money because of these idiots. And they're taking all of the life insurance money directly out of their own grandchildren's pockets. They kinda sound like they're either outright trying to punish you, or like they're just the most inconsiderate and immature grandparents I've ever heard about. A year of mortgages is brutal for someone who it sounds like is raising 2 kids alone. Sell the house and don't look back if they don't get their crap together. Don't want to give me a new contract? Fine, I'll stick to the terms of the contract I do have. So I used to work for a large retailer in the UK. I worked there for 12 years in total and ended up as a manager. When you want to become a manager, they make you fly through 1,000 hoops, do a whole bunch of training, and do the job for 6 months without any extra pay. I did all of this and was finally, officially signed on as a manager. After I was officially given a job, I got my pay rise but was never given a new contract. I asked multiple times for a new contract and was fobbed off each week. Fast forward about 9 months and another large retailer starts hiring lots of managers and was poaching a whole bunch of staff. I applied for one of those jobs as they were offering $8,000 more than I was currently on, but for the same job. I got the job and went to hand in my notice. Managers have to give 4 weeks' notice, whereas general assistants only have to give 1 week. So I decided that I'd follow the exact terms on my contract and provide them with a week's notice rather than the 4 weeks that they wanted. Suffice to say, they were not happy with that, and I got called into an office to ask why I'd only given 1 week's notice. I explained that per the terms of the last contract that I signed with them, that's all I was required to give. They were really not happy, but there wasn't anything that they could do about it. Also, my wife says hi. She wanted to say hi to whoever I was texting, and I said that I was writing a story and said I'd say hi to the internet for her. Hello, author's wife. God, I hope you end up watching this by chance one day and getting the surprise of your life. I'd say that whether our protagonist was the jerk or not does depend on whether his employers were good to him, apart from the whole slackness on the contract thing. I'd say probably not by the sound of the whole affair with getting his unpaid training and extra time in to, help the company by becoming a manager. Regardless, props to the author for taking the opportunity when you saw it and getting a better deal in life and getting a terrific career upgrade in the space of a week. Maybe that'll teach your old job to actually upgrade their employees' contracts and give them the other perks that they're due. I assume at least that's a reason they might have withheld it, other than laziness. Am I the jerk for not giving up the house I inherited? I was raised in a Christian household. With that came gender roles that were ingrained in me at a young age. My granddad, however, hated that my parents taught us this way, and as I got older, I did too. Because of this, I became very close with my grandparents instead of my own parents. I also have an older brother that my parents labeled the second king of the house. For more important info, my grandparents lived in a beautiful house that had no neighbors, many trees, and a garden. They paid off the house after years, and it was very special to them. My granddad also had bad problems with his back and a condition that would get worse until he couldn't go on anymore. After my grandmother passed, he got worse and ended up needing at-home care. He didn't want a stranger in his home, so that wasn't an option. I think it was due to my grandmother passing. My parents preached that it was punishment for all his sins, so they wouldn't take care of him and were planning on putting him in a home. I decided to stay with him, since it would just be easier. My job can be worked effectively at home, and he'd get care from someone who wasn't a total stranger. In the time I took over, we filled the home with the love and laughter my grandmother brought to it. As my granddad got worse, not a single call. Not from my mum, my dad, or my brother. We were joking about it once, and he said, "Maybe I should just give you Missy." Missy was the house's name. "Instead of your dad. He's just going to give it to your brother anyway." He laughed after he said that, so I assumed he was joking. Fast forward to the worst happening. I was the one who found him. I had to make the call. All of it. As much as I was pushed away from my parents, I didn't want them to find out the news from a random person. The funeral was the first time I ever truly connected with my parents in years. We hugged and cried together, and we were all vulnerable. But then it came time for the will. Now, it wasn't some telenovela with all the dramatics, but it was intense. The house that was supposed to be my dad's became mine, as well as many other things that my dad planned on giving to my brother. I was accused of manipulating my granddad into giving it to me, and my brother was just yelling. A week later, my brother came to the house in tears. He was begging me to give him the house since his was too small for his wife and baby. He argued that because it's just me and my husband and we don't want kids, I don't need it. I told him to leave, and I felt terrible. I feel like a jerk, and my family have told me that I am one. He's right, I don't need my house, my job pays me good money, and I could easily just live somewhere else. On the other hand, though, my granddad wouldn't want him or my dad to have it. I'm kind of at a loss here. Am I the jerk? Your family sound like the worst kind of Christians. Judgment, entitlement, restrictive gender roles, and none of the unconditional love. If they aren't willing to look after Grandpa, then why the heck should they benefit from his passing? And look, I get that your brother would benefit from the house, and maybe he was too busy to look after Gramps in his final years, but couldn't he have at least stayed in touch? You don't just get to ignore someone in the last years of their lives and then sweep in and take their belongings. They aren't a dead Skyrim NPC. The author sounds like they made their grandfather's years a lot more joyful and happy than they might have been otherwise, and like he had a pretty good reason to shift his affairs around. So, assuming that this wasn't all long game from the author, I'm going to say that they aren't the jerk. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories. Or if you want to check out some great music, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, give Am I the Genius a shot. Everything linked in the description.